Good day, friends. Are there any of you who have a personal top of your favorite 8 and 16-bit games? Have you ever had a desire to play your favorite childhood games from Dendy or Sega consoles in an updated schedule? And so that it was not a completely different game with a familiar character, namely, as then, in childhood, but with modern graphics and a new engine. Actually, I had such a desire, and I decided to Google whether there were remakes of classic dance hits, and to my surprise it turned out that many of them passed me by. So, in this video I will tell you about modern remakes and sequels of classic 8-16-bit games for Windows, many of which you probably didn't know about. And before we start, if you need the development of a logo, website, design of any complexity, a commercial or a beautiful intro for your channel, as well as the design of the VK Group and YouTube channel, I recommend the Design Studio Region Records. You will definitely be satisfied with the result. Applications can be sent to the mail info dog region records.ru or to the VK Group Region Records. And our list opens the continuation of the series of Street O Rage games that were released on the Sega Mega Drive console. From the 91st to the 94th year, 3 parts of this franchise were released. Street Rage is a classic bitmap of those years with a fairly well-developed plot, which was designed to create competition for the Nintendo hit in this genre of fighting, and differed from it by increased dynamics, a variety of levels and a cooperative mode. The game quickly gained popularity and became a real hit. On the 30th of April this year, the 4th part of this masterpiece franchise was released. In it, the developer carefully preserved the atmosphere and style. The game continues the plot 10 years after the end of the 3rd part. I would like to mention the amazing graphics and excellent sound. The Street About Freud 4 is played for fun, and is passed almost in one breath. At the same time, the nostalgic mood of the game is felt. Old fags will appreciate the curtsy towards the 2nd part of the 92nd year, since the first level of the new game is a remake of the first level from the 2nd part of the series. I came out with 3-4 on PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and I do not definitely recommend to get acquainted. The verdict? Brilliant. Next up is the DuckTales Remaster. In the distant 1989 year, a wonderful platformer adventure of a miserly rich man from the duck world of Scrooge McDuck was released for the Nintendo Entertainment System's console from the Capcom company. In the game, Scrooge is looking for a lost treasure in different parts of the world. The game was mega interesting, as was the animated series of that time. A distinctive feature was the ability to choose the difficulty of the game and the chapter. In the 2013 year, Capcom released a remake of Duck Stories for PC and PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 and View game consoles. The new game repeats the classics completely level by level, while expanding some levels, but with modern graphics in the style of an animated series. For those who were familiar with the original in childhood, I definitely recommend this remake to pass.
It's a light of some kind.
As a child, I didn't have a shogi, there was only a dandy. But one day the antenna of an old TV caught the video signal of a neighbor who was playing a toy unfamiliar to me on a Sega, where a rider was hitting different objects and kicking other riders while riding a motorcycle. It was a wildly cool RO Rush game. Needless to say, she was at the top of the list of what to play when we were going to a friend who had a Sega, because it was possible to play together, while the screen was divided. This game was released on many consoles, but of course the coolest version was on the first PlayStation, but we could only get to know it in gaming clubs. In the 2017 year, the game RO Redemption was released from Pixel Dash Studio. Despite the fact that the original Honor was developed by Electronics Arts, Mouth Redemption is the spiritual heir of Coratras. This is the same fighting arcade game on bikes with the same drive, only with modern and very pleasing to the eye graphics, and much higher dynamics. The game was released on PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One and Nintendo Switch. Personally, the game really came to me, and caused a lot of positive emotions right from childhood. In addition, it could also be played by 2 or even 4 people sharing the screen. So we appreciated it in the company of friends. Definitely like. Another game for fans of Disney cartoons and games based on them, The Castle of Illusions, released in 1990, where Mickey Mouse traveled through the Castle of Illusions to save his girlfriend. The favorite game of many owners of the Sega Mega Drive console, The game was loved for the atmosphere of a fairy tale, and of course for Mickey Mouse. The HD remake was released by Sega in the 2013 year, and recreates the fabulous atmosphere of the original, only in a 3D format with more pleasant music and graphics. Fans of the Disney universe and people who played the original are definitely recommended. Well, I'm unlikely to surprise anyone with the next two games, but I still decided to include them in this list. These are modern versions of a series of games about Sonic the Speedy Blue Hedgehog. Sony Generations, released in the 2011 year, and the newer Sony Forces 2017 year. Sony Generations combines two realities: a remake of the classic levels in pseudo 2D, and a new reality in a modified location, where Sonic runs with an ever-changing camera, from the view from behind to the classic two-dimensional angle. The game has a lot of dynamic moments, and it looks great and is played. In addition, in places it resembles the classic very first Sonic on Sega, causing a wave of nostalgia. The game was released on PC, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 and Nintendo 3DS. Sonic Forces is a little more complicated. The game was received rather coldly by critics and fans of the series. There are many reasons. The game is trying to be completely new, but is afraid to deviate from the classic scheme. The plot here is presented too pretentiously and pretentiously. It became possible to create your own character, and now we play alternately for Sonic and your avatar. The character we created does not know how to accelerate, but has other chips and its own weapons. Sonic Forces also combines two-dimensional and three-dimensional angles, and it seems that the ideas are excellent, but the feeling does not leave that the game is missing something. From a technical point of view, everything is not bad here. The game is stable and beautiful. Although I definitely won't take it, it was still a pleasant introduction. I am sure that many are familiar with the game Double Dragon, about two brothers of martial artists who went to save the girl, destroying everyone along the way. Various parts of this game were released on NES, known to us as Dandy, and on Sega and Super Nintendo. In the 2012 year for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 consoles, a relaunch of the series called Double Dragon Neon was released, and in the 2014 this remake was released on PC. The game of course tries to be similar to the original, but it will only be possible to evaluate modern graphics and music in it. The combat system became wildly uncomfortable, and something went wrong with the controls. As if the developers decided when creating it, that'll do. In addition, it looks and plays quite boring, except that when playing for two it is a little more fun. But to be honest, I would prefer Flight 4, which is 10 orders of magnitude higher in all respects. Double Dragon is not worthy only of familiarization. In order to take a fresh look at the old series from childhood, it is unlikely that you will go through it to the end. The next game on the list is Mega Man 11, a continuation of a fairly well-known series of games that came out starting from the console in 1987. This is a fairly simple, but popular platformer, and the new part, released in the 2018 year for all current platforms, is a real continuation of the classics. All the same, 2D platformer where you need to run, jump and shoot. Mega Man 11 looks great. Nice graphics and great animation, and boss fights are dynamic and can take your breath away. By the way, the game is quite hard in places, and if you like the old classic games of this series, then the new iteration will definitely come to you with a bang. The Strider game became a real discovery for me during the preparation for this video. I remember her on a Dandy, then it was necessary to run some kind of samurai and chop someone. Why and why is not so important. On an 8-bit set-top box, she didn't really remember anything, but on Sega she was really cool. An excellent picture for those times, dynamic gameplay and peculiar game chips. The character gave acrobatic numbers, was able to climb on vertical surfaces and even on the ceiling with the help of some hooks, and tirelessly chopped everyone right and left. In general, it was a cool game on Sega. And as it turned out, in the 2014 year, the game was restarted. The new Strider is almost the same game, but modified technologically and ideologically. This is the same two-dimensional action game with incredibly beautiful graphics and crazy dynamics. Everything is fine in this game: visual design, sound, game mechanics, dynamics of battles, and in general everything. How nice it is to cut enemies in half, twisting somersaults along the way. At the same time, the reissue manages to remain the same game from the 90s. How the fuck did that happen? Bosses deserve special mention, just look at the first one. Despite the fact that the game was released in the 2014 year, it does not look outdated. The picture looks perfect even in the 2020th. I definitely recommend it to everyone, even those who were not familiar with this game on Sega or Dendy. The game was released on PC, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Contra, Mother of Her Rock Corpse. This game is here just to warn you. Like any person who lived in the 90s, I could not so easily take and pass by the game with the word counter name, especially since it is really a continuation of that legendary counter. And when I found out that the new part was released in the 2019 year, I was inspired and very much broke off. Contra Rock Corpse is up to the words. There are no such descriptions to tell what it is. Firstly, this is not the same Contra from childhood. Secondly, everything is bad in it, the graphics are really 10 years old. Here you are looking at the screens now, it looks like a game of 2019, absolutely no control, graphics, lack of dynamics, lack of everything, lack of budget and conscience among developers. Contra Rock Core is. In general, if someone advises you to break this person's face, because he hates you. There was a rather strange complex toy Bionic team on the Dendy. In it, we played for a soldier who had a pig cat instead of a hand, and he could not jump and shoot diagonally, and in addition to walking, all movements were performed exclusively by a pig cat, and it was not so easy for her to get where she needed to. In general, a strange game. In fact, the game is quite well known and respected, and in the 2008 year it was re-released, and in addition to the graphics, everything was left as it was. Personally, I didn't get old or new, but if there were those who felt the original, the novelty is right for you, this is a complete real remake of the game. And finally, an amateur remaster of the classic Chip and Dale game. The game is made by an enthusiast and is unofficial, nevertheless, it is of high quality with a noticeably improved image. The creator is an ardent fan of the Chip and Dale game and did his best. The game is a portable version that does not require installation. I'm sure many people will be pleased to try it in this form. All the games that you have seen in this release have been tested personally on Windows 10 version 1909. Everything works fine, you can safely take it. Or if you're like Jack Sparrow, Captain Jack Sparrow, you know what to do. If you know more remakes and continuation of classic games, be sure to share them in the comments. Well, I hope you liked this video, please like and subscribe to the channel, and also ring the bell so as not to miss new videos. See you soon.